From the skyscrapers of downtown Calgary to Edmonton's sprawling retail hubs, titans of industry built the Alberta we know today. But what if I told you that behind some of the most powerful businesses in this province, there's a hidden history? A story of faith, family, and fortune that traces back to a handful of visionary Jewish families. These weren't just business people, they were community builders. They were pioneers who arrived in a new land with little more than ambition and a fierce connection to their heritage. They stared down the vast, untamed prairie, economic turmoil, and the quiet poison of anti-Semitism to not only build fortunes, but to lay the cornerstones of our society. They raised synagogues in brand new towns, started charities that serve all Albertans, and launched ventures that came to define the province's economic identity. Tonight, we're counting down the 8 most influential Jewish business families that shaped Alberta. We'll uncover their incredible stories of creating empires from scratch and reveal the lasting legacy they've left for all of us. From frontier pioneers to modern-day mall magnates, get ready to see Alberta's history in a whole new way. Section 8. The Pioneers, the Diamond and Cristall families. We kick off our list not with a single business, but with the foundational families whose grit and spirit made everything else possible. The Diamonds and the Cristalls. They weren't just early, they were the bedrock. Our story starts with the Diamond brothers, who were truly a force of nature. Fleeing anti-Semitism in Belarus, Jacob Lion Diamond arrived in Calgary around 1889, becoming Alberta's first known permanent Jewish settler. His brother William soon followed, first to Calgary and then setting his sights on Edmonton, while brother Philip chose Canmore. They effectively created a network of Jewish presence across the burgeoning province. It was a rugged time. When Abraham and Rebecca Cristall arrived in Edmonton in 1893, it was a town of only 700 people. Abe, an entrepreneur from Eastern Europe, started in the liquor and clothing business, a classic immigrant path. But his vision was much bigger. He wasn't just building a life for himself, he was actively working to bring other Jewish families to this new, promising territory. When William Boss Diamond arrived in Edmonton in 1905 and opened his own clothing store, he was in direct competition with Abe Cristall. But in a move that speaks volumes about their character, this rivalry took a back seat to a much bigger goal. They knew that for their families and their people to thrive, they needed a community. Together, these two competitors worked to forge the very foundation of Edmonton's Jewish life. Along with 8 other men, they formed the Edmonton Hebrew Association in 1906. This wasn't a business deal, it was the creation of a spiritual anchor. They pooled their money to buy land for the first Jewish cemetery in 1907, and most importantly, to hire Hyman Goldstick, who would travel between Calgary and Edmonton, serving both communities. Meanwhile, Jacob Diamond was on a similar mission in Calgary. He worked as a pawnbroker, a liquor merchant, and traded furs, but his real work was as a pillar of the community. He helped organize the first high holiday services in Calgary in 1894 and was instrumental in establishing a Jewish cemetery there. The family's efforts culminated in the founding of Calgary's first synagogue, Beth Jacob, in 1911. The businesses of the Cristalls and Diamonds were the engines that powered this community building. Their legacy isn't measured in dollars, but in the thriving Jewish communities of Edmonton and Calgary that exist today, built on the foundations they laid over a century ago.
At number 7, we turn to a family whose name might not be on a skyscraper, but was on the lips of nearly every Jewish family in Edmonton for decades, the Zalmanowitz family. Their story is a perfect example of how a business can be more than just a place to shop. It can be the absolute heart of a community. For generations of Jewish Edmontonians, the names Zal's Kosher Market and later Edmonton Kosher Foods were synonymous with community itself. These butcher shops run by the Zalmanowitz family were far more than just stores. In one of the world's most northern Jewish communities, they were vital meeting places and a lifeline to Jewish culture. The Zalmanowitz brothers, Barry, Danny, and Hal, grew up in this world where business and community were one and the same. Their father and uncles ran the shops, which for many people were the first place they connected with the wider Jewish community. In an era before giant supermarkets, these family-owned kosher butcheries were essential. It's where you went for your Sabbath dinner, to prepare for holidays, and just to catch up with your neighbors. To get why a business like Zal's was so important, you have to understand what it took to maintain Jewish life on the prairies. It required infrastructure, and businesses like the Zalmanowitzes were a key part of it. They ensured that families could keep kosher, a fundamental practice of Jewish life, reinforcing their identity with every single meal. The brothers remember the butcher shop in the same breath as the local synagogues and the Talmud Torah school. For them, the store was as central to their Jewish upbringing as the house of worship. It was a place where friendships were made, news was shared, and the bonds of community were strengthened right there over the butcher's counter. The Zalmanowitz family story reminds us that biggest isn't always about revenue. Sometimes the biggest impact comes from being the reliable, trusted heart of a community, the place that makes daily life and tradition possible. Number 6 on our list is a family that went from a single surplus store in Calgary to a Canada-wide retail and distribution empire that brought some of the world's most iconic brands into our homes. The Cohen family's story is a masterclass in timing, diversification, and the power of a strategic family network. The patriarch, Harry Cohen, was a classic entrepreneur. In 1939, he and his brothers established an import firm called General Distributors Ltd. After World War II, they also capitalized on the post-war boom by opening one of Calgary's first war surplus stores. But that was just the start. Through General Distributors, they landed the Canadian distribution rights for breakout products like the revolutionary Papermate pen. This was a huge move up the supply chain. The family's real genius was operating as a tight national unit. While Harry stayed in Calgary, his brothers fanned out across the country to manage the firm's explosive growth. Morley in Montreal, John in Toronto, Joe in Vancouver, and Albert and Sam setting up the headquarters in Winnipeg. This national footprint allowed them to build a powerful and diverse empire. They launched the SAAN store chain in 1947, a discount department store that became a household name across Canada for over 60 years. But their most visionary move came in 1955. Harry's brother, Albert, traveled to Japan and came back with something that would change consumer electronics forever. He secured the sole Canadian distribution rights for a small, innovative company named Sony. That one deal put the Cohen family at the forefront of the electronics revolution, bringing Sony's transistor radios and later Walkmans to millions of Canadians. The family's impact wasn't just commercial. Harry's wife, Martha Cohen, a descendant of the pioneering Diamond family, became a giant in Calgary's community development and a trailblazing philanthropist, leaving a huge mark on the city's arts scene. The Cohen family's story is one of incredible foresight. They evolved from a single store to a national powerhouse by controlling distribution and building beloved brands, and their philanthropic footprint continues to enrich Alberta to this day. We are halfway through our countdown, and these stories of resilience, vision, and community are just incredible, aren't they? If you agree, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell. We explore the hidden stories behind business and power every week, and you won't want to miss what's next. Now, back to the countdown. At number 5, we return to the name that started our list, but this time to focus on their immense multi-generational impact as a standalone dynasty, the Diamond family. You simply can't tell the story of business or community in Alberta without putting the Diamond brothers, Jacob, William, and Philip, front and center. Their journey began in the late 19th century, fleeing the anti-Semitism of the Tsar's army in Belarus. Jacob Lyon Diamond made his way to Calgary in 1888 or 1889, becoming the first permanent Jewish settler in the entire territory. He was soon followed by his brothers, William, who settled in Edmonton. This strategic placement across key settlements made them the founders of Jewish life in the region. Jacob's first businesses in Calgary were typical for a frontier town. He was a pawnbroker, a liquor merchant, and a fur trader. His ventures were successful, but Jacob's true calling was as a community architect. In a place with zero Jewish infrastructure, he just built it himself. He acted as a translator for new Yiddish-speaking immigrants, organized the first high holiday services in 1894, and was a key figure in establishing the first synagogue and Jewish cemetery. He was truly the patriarch of Calgary's Jewish community. His brother, William "Boss" Diamond, was doing the same in Edmonton, collaborating with competitors to establish the city's core Jewish institutions. The brothers understood a fundamental truth: their individual success depended on the collective strength of their community. As Alberta grew, so did their ventures, expanding from retail into early real estate and even early oil and gas exploration. But what makes the Diamond family story so powerful is the sheer scale of their foundational impact. Their net worth isn't a number you can find on a stock ticker. It's measured in the enduring institutions they created and the generations of Albertans who have benefited from their vision.
Section 4. The Philanthropic Builder, the Switzer Family. Number 4 on our list is a family whose name is etched into Calgary's charitable landscape, a name synonymous with building, both in business and in community. The legacy of the Switzer family, led by the late Sam Switzer, is an incredible story of a self-made man who never ever forgot where he came from. Sam Switzer's life is a true rags-to-riches tale. Born in Calgary in 1926 to Polish Jewish immigrants, his career began at the age of 5 during the Great Depression, collecting bottles and selling newspapers to help his family survive. This wasn't a childhood hobby, it was a necessity that forged the resilience that would define his life. From those tough beginnings, Sam rose to become one of Calgary's most prominent real estate developers. His companies played a huge role in shaping the city's physical landscape over decades. But as his business success grew, so did his commitment to giving back. For Sam, wealth was a tool for improving the community. His philanthropy was widespread, funding everything from student bursaries and addiction recovery housing to cancer research and Habitat for Humanity. And he always stayed connected to his Jewish heritage. He was a major supporter of Jewish causes, and in a beautiful act of preservation, funded the move of the Little Synagogue on the Prairie to Calgary's Heritage Park, ensuring a vital piece of Alberta's Jewish history would be saved for future generations. Sam was inducted into the Alberta Business Hall of Fame and became a member of the Order of Canada. He embodied the Jewish concept of tzedakah, which isn't just charity, but an ethical duty to do what is right. He saw his success not as a personal trophy, but as a responsibility. Sam Switzer started his career with a handful of bottles. He ended it having given away millions, leaving a legacy of generosity that continues to benefit all Albertans. At number 3, we have a family whose name was once synonymous with the commercial heart of downtown Calgary. For much of the 20th century, if you were shopping for furniture on Stephen Avenue, you were probably in a Bellsburg family store. Their story is one of dominating a key retail sector and becoming pillars of Calgary's historic business district. Like many Jewish entrepreneurs of the time, the Bellsburgs saw opportunity in retail. But while others focused on clothes or general goods, the Bellsburgs carved out their empire in furniture. Their power base was 8th Avenue, a stretch of Stephen Avenue that was a breeding ground for immigrant entrepreneurs. Here, the Bellsburg family didn't just open one store, they established a whole network of them, with names like Christie's Arcade Furniture becoming staples of the downtown core. They understood that as Calgary boomed, thousands of new families needed to furnish their homes. Their business model was smart. By operating multiple storefronts for different budgets, they could cater to a huge range of customers and capture a massive share of the market. They were part of a vibrant ecosystem of Jewish merchants who turned a few city blocks into a hub of economic activity, working alongside families like the Diamonds and the Cohens. Over the decades, the Bellsburg family became one of the most respected business families in the city. While some family members eventually branched out into major international finance, their Alberta roots are forever tied to the furniture trade they once dominated. The Bellsburg story is a testament to the power of focus. By mastering a single industry in the heart of the city, they built a multi-generational legacy and literally furnished the homes of a growing metropolis.
Section 2. The Modern Titans, the Asper family influence. At number 2 is a family whose empire wasn't founded in Alberta, but whose influence and wealth have had a massive impact on the province. The Asper family, founders of the media giant CanWest Global Communications, represent a different kind of power, the influence of outside capital and a deep commitment to Western Canada. The story starts in Manitoba with the visionary and often controversial Izzy Asper. Through a series of bold acquisitions, he built CanWest into a media behemoth that, at its peak, owned a national TV network, Global TV, and a vast chain of newspapers, including the major dailies in both Calgary and Edmonton. For decades, if you read the Calgary Herald or the Edmonton Journal, you were consuming an Asper family product. This gave them immense influence over public debate and politics in Alberta. Their media outlets weren't just businesses, they were powerful platforms that shaped opinions. While headquartered in Winnipeg, their Alberta interests were massive, and the revenues from the province's TV stations and newspapers were critical to their national empire. But the Asper's influence goes beyond corporate holdings. The Asper Foundation is one of Canada's most prominent philanthropic forces and has been a major supporter of initiatives in Alberta. Their giving is often guided by a passion for Western Canada and a deep dedication to Jewish and Israeli causes. In Calgary, for instance, their foundation has sponsored events that connect Alberta's business community to Israel's world-class tech and innovation sectors. The CanWest media empire eventually faced bankruptcy and was broken up. However, the wealth and influence the family built continue to be a force. Their legacy in the province is twofold: as the former owners of Alberta's most important media outlets, and through their ongoing philanthropy that continues to invest in the community. Section 1. The Mall Magnates, the Germizian family. And now at number 1, we have the family whose vision created not just a business, but a global landmark. A family that looked at the open prairies of Edmonton and saw a canvas for something the world had never seen. The number 1 biggest Jewish family business in Alberta is, without question, the Germizian family, founders of the 555 Group and creators of the one and only West Edmonton Mall. The Germizian family story is an epic of immigrant ambition. The 4 brothers, Iskander, Nader, Raphael, and Bahman, immigrated to Canada from Iran in the 1960s. They started in a traditional business, selling Persian rugs, but their vision was anything but traditional. They quickly pivoted to real estate, and that's where their audacious dream began. Their company, 555 Group, would become famous for a concept that revolutionized retail: the Mega Mall. Their masterpiece was West Edmonton Mall. Opened in phases through the 80s and 90s, it was a project of unbelievable scale. The Germizians weren't building a shopping center, they were building an entertainment city under one roof. At a time when Alberta's economy was stuck in the boom and bust cycle of oil, the Germizians made a colossal bet on a different kind of resource: consumer experience. They mixed over 800 stores with attractions that defied belief: the world's largest indoor amusement park, a massive indoor water park with wave pools, an NHL-sized ice rink, a full-sized replica of the Santa Maria, and even a submarine fleet in an indoor lake. The sheer audacity was staggering. Critics were doubtful, but the public was obsessed. West Edmonton Mall became an international tourist destination, drawing millions of visitors to Alberta and creating a massive, stable source of jobs. It completely transformed Edmonton's identity and put it on the global map. The family's net worth is estimated in the hundreds of millions of dollars, making them one of the wealthiest in the country.
The Germizian business is the definition of a family enterprise, with the four brothers working in a tight-knit partnership. While their philanthropy is often global, the economic impact of their flagship project on Alberta is immeasurable. They diversified Edmonton's economy, created tens of thousands of jobs, and built an icon. The Germizian family didn't just build a mall, they built a destination, an empire, and are without question the architects of the biggest and most globally recognized family business to ever come out of Alberta. From the dusty frontier streets of the 1890s to the glittering, climate-controlled world of a megamall, the story of Alberta's most influential Jewish family businesses is a story of the province itself. It's a narrative of courage, vision, and an unwavering belief in the future. We've seen how pioneers like the Diamond and Cristall families didn't just sell goods, but built the scaffolding of a community. We've witnessed the quiet, essential role of families like the Zalmanowitzes, whose butcher shop was the beating heart of daily Jewish life. We've tracked the incredible rise of the Cohens, who brought the world's biggest brands to our doorsteps. We've celebrated the deep generosity of builders like Sam Switzer, who translated his success into a legacy of philanthropy that touches all of us. And we've marveled at the sheer world-changing ambition of the Germizian brothers, who completely reimagined retail and put Edmonton on the world stage. These stories all share a powerful theme. For these families, business was rarely just about profit. It was tied to family, to faith, and to the responsibility of building a better community, the sacred Jewish principle of tikkun olam, or repairing the world. Their legacy is written in the names of our community centers, on the plaques in our hospitals, in the stores that defined our youth, and in the very skylines of our cities. They are a fundamental, though often overlooked, part of the Alberta story. So the next time you walk down Stephen Avenue or visit West Edmonton Mall, you'll know the hidden history. You'll know the story of the faith, family, and fortune that helped build Alberta. What do you think is the most inspiring story from our list? Are there other families we should have included? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this trip into Alberta's history, make sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching.